All right. Jonah, you want to do, well, this is Shelley. We're calling to order the June 21st, 2023 Parks Advisory Committee meeting. Jonah, you want to do roll call, please?
Yes, this is Jonah Jacobson speaking. So, sorry, I gave the copy that I have the agenda.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, this is the minutes.
Okay, we'll do a roll call of members present. Oh, it's okay, I just have it here. You can have that, yeah, that's fine. Zach Andrews.
Here.
Shelley Reynolds.
Here?
Carol Allen.
Here.
Shirley Winters.
Here.
Robbie Cantrell.
Here.
Jim Hill.
Here.
Jeff Hutchinson.
Here.
Brenda Austin is not present tonight. She's not feeling well. Victoria Rizzo.
Here.
Michelle Craver.
Here.
And this is Jonah Jacobs speaking. I am present.
Thank you very much. Before we do the next item on the agenda, which is review and approve meeting minutes, I'd like to have our new committee members introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves. And as we go around, old committee members will do the same. Is that okay? All right, we'll just start with Michelle.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I'm the alternate. I've been in Troutdale for almost 36 years. Time flies. But love our little city, our little town. I've seen it change and grow a lot over the years. And I have married 2 grown daughters that live, one's in California now, one's in the Portland area. And spent a lot of time just really enjoying Troutdale as they grew up and everything it has to offer. And just throughout my life, I've been busy with a lot of different things and just felt I had a little bit more time to give back. So wanted to come join you all here.
You're welcome. Victoria?
Hi, I'm Victoria Rizzo. I've lived here 43 years in Troutdale. I'm on various committees and I enjoy living here.
This is Jeff Hutchinson. Been in Troutdale for 5 years. Spent most of my life in South Florida as a lake biologist. My wife and I retired out here, and I have 2 sons, 24 and 26. And I've been on this committee almost 4 years. I've served on the Safety and Equity Committee for a year, and currently on the Town Center Advisory Board.
This is Jim Hill. Lived in Troutdale for about 9, almost 10 years. Lived in the Portland metro area for my whole life, mostly. My wife and I married 30 years last month, and we have 4 kids. One is 25, and the youngest is 10, and 3 of them have finished high school, and the 10-year-old, of course, is in elementary school. So I work for a local nonprofit, do mostly administrative work for them, accounting, IT, that sort of thing, and just happy to be here and learn from y'all.
Wonderful.
My name is Robbie. I've lived here in Troutdale for just about 3 years now. I used to live over in Fairview, and I was on the Fairview Community Engagement Committee over there. I live with my wife just up the hill, and she's a 5th grade teacher over at East Orient Elementary School. And I work from home for a living. I'm a customer success manager for a cybersecurity education company. So I work with chiefs of IT or cybersecurity and work with their workforces to not click on scam emails or phishing emails. So that's a little about me.
Thank you.
I'm Sherry Winters. I have lived in Troutdale 29 plus years, almost 30 here. I work in a LE1 program in the middle school, primarily with autistic kids. And yeah, I love Troutdale.
Carol Allen, I've been in Troutdale for 20 years. My kids graduated Reynolds High School. I've been on Parks Committee too long. It's been a long time.
I'm Shelley Reynolds. I've lived in Troutdale for 4 years and been on the Parks Advisory Committee for about 4 years. I actually have 3 grown daughters, none of which live in Troutdale, but have been visiting all month. So it's been a busy summer already, and we are seeing so many new faces on our committee. It's really wonderful to see.
This is Zach. Yeah, this really refreshing to have some new folks on the team, so welcome. I've been on here just this last year was my first year of the current stint, but I've lived in the Portland area since about 2017. We got a house out here end of 2020, and since then I have a baby girl at home. She's 15 months now, and that ultimately was kind of driving me to kind of rethink my community involvement and just trying to build a better place for her to grow up in. I work for Tesla for my day job, and I'm a manager over at the Vancouver spot that we just opened up across the river. And so environmentalism is very important to me, clean energy, things along that line. And ultimately, I mean, I've used the parks here in Oregon in general since I moved here. That was part of why I wanted to come, was just the outdoors and everything it has to offer. So between the archery ranges and astronomy spots like out in Stubb Stewart and everything, it's just always something that has captivated me, and it's something that I want to continue prioritizing for the city.
It's a good opportunity to say new members, welcome, and old members, thank you for your service. All right, review and approval of May 17th, 2023 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes? Did everybody get the minutes?
I've got something, page 6. Right about the middle, just above the update from TCAB. It says Zach noted there are other businesses like hair salons that do not benefit from having an art festival. I'm pretty sure that I said that. And then just below that, underneath update from TCAB, there was no update. Zach noted the Town Center Advisory Board has not met in 2 months. That was me, Jeff.
Yeah, it makes us up a lot.
Yeah, we sound alike, I guess.
I'm not sure what it is.
Any other corrections? Okay, nothing?
Just Jonas speaking there on page 6, it says Jonas said there is a step life process in his mind. I have no idea what that is, so we can strike that.
Yeah, what is it?
That was a miscommunication, I think, or mistransposition.
Okay,
We'll strike that. Yeah, actually, that entire sentence, I think, wildfire fuel reduction depends on a functional trial. Construction of a bridge would depend on a functional trial. I think we can strike that as not what I said. So.
It was trail, I do recall that.
Carol, anything? No. No? Zach?
No.
No, all right. Can we have a motion to accept meeting minutes with the noted changes?
This is Carol. I make a motion that we accept the minutes with changes.
I second Victoria Rizzo.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. May 17th, 2023 meeting minutes approved with corrections. Communication from staff on the new dog park And Beaver Creek Canyon Trail improvements, URA disc golf course relocation.
All right, well, this is Jonah speaking again, and I just wanted to introduce myself to all of the new members. I'm relatively new myself, and the new parks facility superintendent, so welcome. And so there is movement happening with the dog park. I'm not sure if any of you have come to check it out next to the Parks and Facilities office, but in the last month I have had some trees cleared in the main open space of the dog park, and the perimeter fence for the dog park is currently under construction. They've set all the posts. They're rolling out wire. The fence should be complete hopefully by the end of this week, if not at some point next week. So I know that's been a long time coming, from talking about it for many years to actually seeing some real tangible change happening with it. But I assure you that the dog park is happening. It is my goal to have it open by the fall. So we are working towards that. And I will add that if anybody is interested in some free firewood, there is quite a bit of maple and alder in the dog park right now. If you'd like to come bucket split your own firewood. So Beaver Creek improvements. Unfortunately, I don't have any news to report on the bridge permitting process that was discussed last month. That is something that I will continue to ask questions about in Public Works Engineering. I know that's something that not only this committee, but the entire community would like to see completed. I did have some very productive meetings and site visits with an organization called Trail Keepers of Oregon that volunteers well, they organize volunteer events. Their staff organizes volunteer events for trail upkeep and rehab in Western Oregon. And so they are currently drafting a proposal for reconstruction of the wooden stairs that have eroded below Whedon Park. If you're familiar with the area I'm talking about, there's the steel or aluminum staircase that goes down, and then below that there's the trail that goes down to the old bridge. So those stairs are badly weathered and eroded. So Trail Keepers of Oregon, before the end of the summer, should hopefully be doing some trail rehabilitation projects in Beaver Creek. And the third item that you mentioned was relocation of the URA, the URA disc golf course, which is something that is still in discussion. There is talk about moving it up to Mount Hood Community College, natural area at the corner of Troutdale Road and Stark there. That is one option, but it's something that I would welcome any input from this committee about if there's, if you have any ideas about where you would like to see that disc golf course.
You want to comment now?
Sorry?
Do you want any comments now?
Please, yes.
Come on, Jeff talking. I think the location you're talking about is not going to be ideal at all because it's so close to the Stark and Troutdale Road. Mm-hmm. You don't want people running out the road trying to get their frisbee.
Right.
I was thinking before this meeting, when I saw that on the agenda, I put Sandy River Delta with a question mark because I'm thinking where could you have a disc golf in the city here? I can't think of any place other than the Sandy River Delta. Sunrise is out of the question.
This is Shelley. Also, I just actually happen to know somebody who plays, if you can play professionally disc golf, he does. And they have professional courses at Blue Lake and Dabney, which are very close. So it's something to remember when we're planning, because both of those courses are widely used courses and very close proximity to Troutdale.
Joan, is the original course still set up?
The original course is still there, but we have been having issues with theft of the baskets. It's, a few of them have been cut off of their posts and have walked away, so. We're actually thinking about putting some, GPS tags in the inside of the, like epoxying them to the inside of the basket. So that if they walk away, we can potentially find out where they went. But yeah, that's theft and vandalism are ongoing issues, not just at that property, but throughout the Park City area in the city, unfortunately. So,
Do we have any sense about how much that course gets used?
quite a bit more now. So I did have. It is the season when you'll see people out there using it, but for the first part of the spring, I think a lot of disc golfers were deterred by the brush and overgrowth that was on the property for the first part of the year. And so I did have a excavation company do some brush clearing down there, not just for the disc golf course, but also to deter camping. So we could maintain line of sight, from the downtown area, and so that the sheriffs could more easily patrol the URA. So if you notice that all of the tall brush has been cleared down there, it's actually looking really good. And since that happened, I've seen a lot more disc golfers using the course. And actually, a couple of people on my staff are very into disc golfing, and they know a lot of people who use the course down there. So.
Oh, good.
So, while being sandwiched between two very well-known, well-used courses means that on some level, Troutdale needs to, if we're going to have a disc golf course, compete with that level of course. At the same time, it also means that there are a lot of people passing through the area already who are interested in disc golf, and so, Troutdale is already sort of on that circuit, for people who enjoy disc golf.
Great.
Can I ask a follow-up question? I think your question is a really good one, Shelley. How often is the course used? And I wonder, is there a way that players check in? Do we know, other than anecdotally?
Other than anecdotally, no. I mean, I guess just, from observation from my staff who spend quite a bit of time down there and are, involved in the local disc golf community.
That makes sense. I wonder if a QR code that they could snap and just help us collect data about usage might help us understand.
It's possible if they want to. There is no registration or fee to use the course. It's a public course.
Thank you.
This is Robbie speaking. Can I ask a question about the Beaver Creek Canyon Trail? For myself and the new members, would you mind just summarizing briefly the roadblocks in place to getting a new bridge up? That you spoke about the permitting process.
Certainly, yes. And so there may be some other members of the committee who can provide more background information than myself, being that I'm relatively new to the situation as well. From my understanding, the bridge that is in Beaver Creek has basically been washed away over successive winters and is no longer.
It got cut out.
It is cut out. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it got cut out.
All right. There's another one that I saw down there. So maybe forgive me. It's very old and weathered and not functional, but maybe that's anything. So there is no functional bridge in Beaver Creek right now. There used to be. The hurdles to the design process for a new bridge are essentially around permitting, seismic code, and so the city needs to hire a geotech or consultant to come out and make an assessment about the safe construction of the bridge. And my question is, how is this situation any different than a number of the footbridges that you see over the many rivers in the area? And from what I understand, the difference is that most of those bridges were built not in a residential area and not to current seismic code. So, so the permit is still active for construction of the bridge. However, the design has gone back for review, and is currently in the Public Works Engineering Office.
Thank you.
This is Jeff. I'm gonna just quote what Tim said in the last minutes, just a little snippet. It's on page 5. Staff confirmed they are bringing in engineer Scott Liddell, and they did a peer review from the engineer who developed the first one. In 2016, the bridge was going to cost $189,000, and the cost of the same design and plan has escalated probably around 500% at $784,000. Their peer review says it will now cost $1.2 million. That's the problem. Money.
Speaking of money, this is Zach. I did have a question for staff on the June 30th deadline for our budgetary usage when it comes to being applied to the parks and dog parks specifically and everything. I just wanted to know kind of where we're at with that.
Well, yes, and so that was one of the major motivations to put some pressure on the fencing contractor that had basically stalled out the dog park plan since COVID, and was having some supply chain issues supposedly, but you know, as soon as we put some pressure on them to complete it within our current fiscal year and budget, he somehow seemed to figure out his logistical problems. So yes, that money that was allocated for the dog park in the current budget that is about to expire will be allocated as planned.
So on that note then, I mean, it looks like it was 15,000 allocated for the dog park, which, good job. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. You guys are getting that done. And then for the other, it looks like there's a 31,900 in current budget, which ends June 30th total, or is that aside from the 15,000?
That I believe is aside from the 15,000. I would have to review.
Okay, I got it. All right. I was just saying, like, I think it was like a 72,000 by June 30th total. So I
believe that that's aside. I mean, the tree removal was, close to 10,000 by itself, and
okay.
the fence is going to take up most of the rest of that money.
Okay, solid. Just want to make sure we're getting the most bang for a buck for sure. Cool, thank you.
This is Carol, isn't that 31,000 for this next year? Because didn't we already spend the 70,000?
Yeah, this is Jonah again. I apologize. I don't have those numbers in front of me right now. I'm prepared to present them. So,
Let's maybe come back to that question next meeting
Get some clarity.
to get some clarity on what was spent by June 30th and what the new budget is going to look like.
Zach, what page are you on?
I'm on page 3 of 8 from the last meeting. That's number 4.
All right.
Okay.
Any public input on the communications from staff regarding the dog park, the disc golf course, and the Beaver Creek Trail? Adrian? Paul?
Personally, the use of the space to the east of the college for a disc golf course is brilliant. And it's, the concern about encroaching in the start and the danger there, given that that's the narrow side of that wedge of the property and the decorative stuff, and sort of the parking placements that are already on that corner, I think the risk of discs flying into Stark is probably minimal, but that's just me. I mean, there's enough territory there that and put a decent golf course in that would probably get a fair amount of use.
Thank you. Paul?
Yes, thank you, Shelley. It's Paul Wilcox. On relocating the disc golf course, I just wanted to bring to Jeff's attention that Sandy River Delta is outside the Troutdale city limits. I think there's 2 or 3 agencies that actually manage that entire property. So I don't think you want to be dealing with outside agencies.
Thanks, Paul.
And on the, locating it there too on Stark and Troutdale, the middle school uses that for their physical education. And the college kids use it a lot for horticulture and different things. So you're gonna have students in that area all the time, while school's in, so.
There's also the middle school across the street.
That's what I said.
Oh, you just said the middle school, okay.
Yeah.
You said
And-
college.
No, I said first middle school,
Okay.
they use it for PE.
Yep,
And then the college, they have all sorts of classes.
right.
I see them down there all the time.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public members who want to speak on non-agenda items tonight?
Shelley, it's Paul Wilcox again.
Hi, Paul.
Hi. I wanted to bring to the committee's attention that there's been some serious vandalism at the porta potty at Sunrise Park, and we're not talking graffiti, talking the porta potty being made unusable, the seats being torn off, and a lot of pretty serious destruction. That entire unit has to be replaced. So I'm open to suggestions on how that might be addressed.
And I'm sorry, Paul, you said that was Sunrise Park, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Paul, this is Sherry. How long has that been happening?
I think there's been, that I'm aware of, at least 2 instances in the last month or so. Jonah might have some more specific dates.
Yes, this is Joe speaking. Yeah, there have been 2 instances in the last month of somebody, I suspect somebody under the age of 18, who I think has access to some M80s or quarter sticks of dynamite and thinks it's hilarious to toss them into the Porto at Sunrise Park. So yeah, they have rendered 2 of them unusable. I have since installed a remote accessible game camera on the PGE telephone pole that's adjacent to the Porto. I went out with a 20-foot extension ladder to put a camera on the pole. And it has not happened again, knock wood. So, as far as more permanent solutions and better hardware, I am talking to the person in the community development office who's in charge of our closed circuit surveillance system around town. We already do have quite a few cameras installed in various outbuildings and shelters in various parks, and so I'm hoping to add a more permanent camera than just a game camera at Sunrise Park and a few other locations. Thank you, Paul, for bringing one of those instances to our attention and to working with City Manager Ray Young as well to bring it to the Parks Department's attention. And so we're doing everything we can to deter vandalism. It is something that does happen seasonally around this time of year when seniors are graduating. I don't want to blame seniors. I guess when school is about to get out for the summer. That being said, maintenance of the parks is something that is very important to the community and to my office. And I would very much like to, when crafting the next fiscal year budget, have enough funds to add another full-time employee, which would greatly increase my current staff's ability to respond to these sort of instances. So.
Thank you.
Has it ever been posed to put like a restroom building there in Sunrise Park instead of a porta potty?
That would be possible, but it would require plumbing,
Right.
which would be quite expensive, much more expensive than installing a permanent surveillance camera. But you know, the other thing that was proposed was, you know, placing a lock on the porta there. But again, the issue with that is that this time of year, today is the solstice. Happy solstice, everybody. You know, when the days are this long and the sun is up and the park is open until 9 p.m. or later, all my staff have gone home by 9 p.m. There isn't really anybody available to lock the gate at sundown at 9:30 p.m. So.
This is Zach. I just have a quick follow-up question on that. Would the camera setup in this circumstance be budgeted for by the Parks Department, or would that be law enforcement, or?
It wouldn't be law enforcement, no. That question I would have to get back to you on. I wouldn't feel comfortable answering it,
Fair.
you know, today, but
Sure.
it could be in the community development budget that Joe Storage manages for security and surveillance. So
Got it. Thanks.
it depends on, I suppose it depends on how many cameras would be installed specifically for the Parks Department. So if we were buying and installing, say, 5 or 6 more cameras, then likely that would be something that would have to be written into the following year's budget for parks.
Okay.
Anybody else?
This is Sherry. I have something maybe slightly unrelated. There's been a bicycle, a rusty bicycle in Beaver Creek for quite some time. Is it something just to report and then somebody will go and take it out of there, or?
Absolutely, and yeah, I mean, your report can, you can consider that your report. So I will ask my staff who manages Beaver Creek and works down there every day, if he can locate it and pull it out.
To give us a location though, that's a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
right,
area.
it's right by the bridge that got torn out.
I think I maybe saw it the other day when I walked through with the trail keepers representative that I was there with. So.
There might be a tire down there too, I can't remember, but I know I just seen it because I have a dog down there and
No.
it's like, don't go by that bicycle, I don't want you getting hurt, it's all
The
rusty.
tire is actually much worse than the bicycle. Tires are terrible for young salmon. They put off chemicals that can kill salmon.
Oh, that's, and they're bad down there.
All right. Any further comments on the vandalism that's occurring? No? All right, set PAC goals for 23-24. I think all of us have the dog park, well, all of us old people have the dog park at the top of our list.
This is Carol. I'd say another one is to connect with city council and make sure that they're following the plan that the Parks Committee approved and sent forth.
This is Jonah. Are you referring to the Parks Master Plan? That was discussed in last week's city council meeting, they took issue with some specific words in the Parks Master Plan around the question of camping in Glenado Park, or a camping area being added to Glenado Park. I believe that they accepted the plan conditionally, that language would be removed from the final copy.
So they don't want the camping back there, is that correct?
They do not want camping on us.
So here's my question, is that, why didn't we hear from that from city council? So, I mean, is that the communication that they just sent to you, so you
I was
get
at
sent?
that meeting.
Okay.
It was at
Yeah,
the-
I was
okay.
present, I was present at the meeting.
Okay. I just want to keep them accountable.
Yeah.
We have had a long history in Troutdale of them making changes to things after things have been approved. And so I just want to we have a wonderful council, don't get me wrong. I just want to make them accountable.
Sorry, yeah.
Did they say why they didn't want the camping?
They were concerned about the homelessness issue, that it would attract the wrong kind of campers, and that it would be, the other main issue that they had with it was that, a large portion of the area that to the south of Glen Otto, that they were talking about, utilizing that MIG was talking about in their master plan draft, they were talking about using, actually belongs to, as Paul mentioned, with the Sandy River Delta, a large portion of that land actually belongs to the Department of State Lands. It's not even Troutdale's jurisdiction, and so, they also, I think that, they were concerned about funding in some areas, but also, the master plan is a planning document and not a budget document. So, and also, Councilor Glantz might be able to,
She can't.
oh,
She can't comment on the.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess here's my concern there is, that was actually a staff member's idea, not our
Correct.
input. And it was brought to us, it sounds like, before it was properly vetted through the proper authorities. So it was dumped on us as, oh, we wanted to look at this. And we're put in a position of, wow, I don't know how the rest of you feel. I felt like, I didn't feel like I could take it out, but at the same time, I think we made the language vague enough to make it a discussion as a possibility rather than, yeah, we support this, let's do it.
Agreed, which is the whole point of it.
Exactly. And so I guess my only thing there is, for future presentations from city staff, maybe have those things vetted prior to bringing them to the city or to the Parks Advisory, and putting us on the spot for either agreeing with the city or disagreeing. Thank you. I think Paul voiced his opposition during the Planning Commission. City Council had I'm sure every reason to review that and either have it removed or not approve the master plan while it's in there. So that's my 2
Yeah,
cents.
I agree. This is Carol. I mean, I felt the same way, that it was just kind of thrown in at the last minute. I have great concerns about having a camping ground back over there behind Glen Allen Park, so I mean, I'm in agreement with the city on this one, but I'm just nervous. I'm really watching,
And in the discussion in that city council meeting, Mr. Jonathan Phoenix elucidated all those points and said exactly what you said, Shelley, about how that is, it is in the document a suggestion. There is no plan set in stone by the approval of that document that means that is then going to happen.
Right.
So those points were all elucidated to the council in the meeting.
Wonderful.
Can I ask a question on that?
Of course.
So, since I don't really totally understand everything that's going on quite yet, obviously, but why does a staff member get to come and bring something to the advisory committee?
Good question.
Well, I mean, I think that's their job, that's our job, is to take their ideas and determine whether or not it suits the residents. I mean, it's the city's job to develop the city. It's our job to make sure that they're developing it in the way that the residents of the town find fitting and approve of. The plan isn't all our ideas. It really is about taking the ideas being presented and making sure that they fit within the citizens' view of how Troutdale should grow.
Okay, the citizens though view.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because staff couldn't be not citizens of the city.
That's true. That's why it's brought to the committee for our review and approval.
Another question. This is Jim. Joe, you mentioned MIG. Could you tell me what that is?
That is the consulting firm that Mr. Jonathan Phoenix works for, that's the consulting firm that was contracted to craft the Parks Master Plan for the city of Troutdale.
Thank you.
This is Zach. I just had a quick question, I guess, on that too. If they disapproved of certain items from the Parks Master Plan, what at this point is the next step?
That's a good question. And if you'll forgive me for not being 100% clear on it, that was actually the first city council meeting I have ever attended. And so I wouldn't feel comfortable answering for the city council in this instance, but my understanding is that the Parks Master Plan is being approved with that specific language that they disapproved of removed.
Okay. Yeah, on that note, you mentioned that there was some concern over funding certain things. I mean, that obviously is kind of a red flag to me. So I guess I want to know if it's my fault for not attending and catching up, and I can definitely do that still. But I guess just again, for the benefit of everyone else who wasn't there as well, are those items also part of that language as far as conditional approval, or was that simply a discussion that was made?
My understanding is that certain councilors took issue with the amount of funding for the parks in the 5-year plan portion of the 20-year total master plan. There was discussion over where some of that funding came from, and in the course of that discussion, it was brought to the council's attention that close to 1/3 of the total amount that they were talking about was actually grant money and not money from Troutdale taxpayers.
Sure.
So a large portion of that money is grant funded. So there was some back and forth on this topic, as there is in any council meeting, but my takeaway from the meeting is that that the master plan will be approved with some minor edits to the language around camping in Glen Auto Park.
Got it. Thank you.
Will we see a copy of this at any point?
I'm sure you will.
Okay.
I'm sure you will. And I can make it.
It's online.
Yeah.
It's online?
Yeah.
Okay.
They usually print this out in your
And I was gonna say,
notebook.
Jonah, Tim in the past has always printed us, once it's all been approved and finalized, we all get a copy.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought that had already
Jonah?
been included in the packets that were mailed to you all. But I guess, I'll make a note of that though, that next month.
Well, not until it's finalized.
Not until it's
Okay.
finalized.
We have all the,
Okay, but a draft copy hasn't, like.
We have a
we
draft.
have drafts.
And the drafts are also online for
Yes.
anybody who
Okay.
wants to review them.
Okay.
Is there a date, is there due to be finalized, or what is the process? Is it usually months, or?
It has been months, it has been months, and so, yeah, I believe that the goal is to have it approved before the approval of the next year's.
I think the second reading is next week, isn't it?
Yeah,
This-
the last council was the first reading, I believe.
Right, so the second public hearing
Oh,
is the
that
next
will be
council
too.
meeting,
Okay.
and after that, they'll vote on it.
I assume so.
Okay, thank you.
Sandy, if you can speak to process, please feel free to jump in, but we certainly understand if you aren't comfortable doing that.
In terms of process, yes, it is the second reading on Tuesday night. And my understanding is that page 39, where the camping was mentioned, will have some edits. It was just a few words. And I was the person that had concerns about the $9.2 million expense in the next 5 years when, we need fire and police, and we know those costs are going to significantly increase. So I don't want to make that a political statement, merely a reflection of what I said that night.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So goals for 2023, we've got the dog park. Making sure that we are staying on track with specifically, especially, I think one of the top goals mentioned by residents, of course, was maintenance.
Correct.
So we will want to make sure we stay on top of maintenance schedules and noting any other concerns with the parks and their maintenance. Understanding, of course, that the Parks Department is working within their budget and can only do so much, but we sure can make sure that we keep adding to that list if we need to. Right.
Question, Michelle.
Sure.
Have you guys ever spoken of, or is it possible to have, like within Sandy Palisades, we have 2 different parks, to have community involvement, let's
Had lots of
read,
community
edge, paint, all
involvement.
that kind of stuff.
We had a huge involvement regarding pickleball at Llewellyn Park.
That I remember.
Yeah, me too. That was months of discussion, wasn't it? We often is not the right word. We do, when it's appropriate, provide open houses. With the Parks Master Plan, we did First Fridays, we had booths, every event they had downtown, we had something out taking surveys, we had surveys online, we had open houses, we had an open house at the elementary school. I won't lie, it was poorly attended. All of them were, except for the pickleball was poorly attended. And the majority of the people who attended the pickleball were from Camas. So there you go.
Pickleball, I think that was I know I did the online survey, but yeah. I don't know, have you guys ever considered like posting, flyers in the park, we're gonna have a community day, or, because all of those events sound great, but, I live there and I never heard about any of that, so. I walk, the neighborhood every day, so I'm just thinking of people that are out and about. How do we get them? There's a lot of people live within our communities that would love to be hands-on.
Shelley, I don't think you mentioned the Champion newspaper.
Yeah.
That's true.
Everybody gets
And all the city,
Everybody gets
Troutdale,
everything.
Instagram
The
accounts.
champion for sure, yeah.
Yep.
Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
the website online, the troutdale.gov website is great.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
go
we've
for
ever
everything.
posted in parks, but we've always put it on websites and.
We've done a couple of sandwich boards, like when it's a big event. Vandalism is I live right on Llewellyn Park, and I sat and watched kids take the library book
Yeah,
stand,
yeah.
the little book stand, and just kick it over and break it down. We went over and fixed it, and the next day went out and it had been done again. So posting things at the park is sometimes just counterproductive and ends up litter.
What about if you sent it on the park, on the water bill, like some upcoming stuff?
I know we've done that
Champion
surveys.
in the mail already.
I realize that, but I just was thinking more so you open up your
It's
bill.
spread.
Most
and
people
you
don't
look
get a
at-
water bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just me?
Well, I do, I
Old
get it in the
school.
mail.
I
but-
pay a bill and
Yeah.
you guys don't?
No, I pay a bill, I just don't get it. in the
I
mail.
just do it all online.
Yeah, you're right,
all
it's online now.
I don't know.
I still like paper too.
But you're right, the city has sent out notifications that way, even if you do pay online,
have.
they still have your address on file, and, you know,
Yeah.
the city has sent out different, parking notifications that way in the past.
Well, speaking to being an older person and maybe not always wanting to be on every latest, online thing or something like that, sometimes when I see something come in paper form, it speaks to me more that way, so.
And that has been brought up in the past. I've brought that up several times, concerned about our elderly in our community. So,
Well, and I think we've used the water bill, for the survey. We,
The champion.
we used the champion for the survey. And then we had, for our neighborhood, we had sandwich boards at Llewellyn Park for the surveys there. So. All right, back to the topic at hand, 2023, 2024 goals. So park maintenance.
Can we set a goal for the Beaver Creek Bridge, or is that not possible?
Good point, I was gonna bring that
I
up.
was just gonna say it.
I was ready to fire
There's
on
3
that.
of us.
This is Jeff. On the Beaver Creek Bridge, it sounds like a few months ago, when they saw the price was too expensive, they just kind of threw their hands up. But I think there's a way to do this bridge and do it cheap, much cheaper. It's not gonna be that, I remember the type of steel it was, but it was a very expensive type of steel that can last like 100 years. It's a surface patina and it doesn't rust through. Why don't we just consider building a good, solid pillared foundation and build a wood bridge? And instead of making it wide, make it a one-way bridge to save on the lumber. And if it lasts 15, 20 years, build another one. We're still behind, we're still doing better than if we spent, $1.2 million. But
That's
just-
an excellent idea.
And invest in a
let me just
camera
finish
to watch?
the Troutdale ordinance for this advisory committee. I mentioned this before, but I'm just gonna say it again. The Parks Advisory Committee reviews and recommends expenditures of parks funds for capital or construction projects. So in the next couple months, if you could find out what the status is of the Beaver Creek Bridge, and if the city can come to a meeting or have maybe people that are putting bids out to do that work, come to this committee and let's discuss alternatives to get it done. Because it's not, I understand the real issue with this bridge is it's in a very remote location and it's hard to get materials to the site. I know the original plan was to prefab the bridge and get a double blade helicopter to bring it over and drop it down, and there's got to be a simpler way. It's one of the top 3 things I think that the community wants. They want that bridge rebuilt.
this is Carol. I suggest we put it on there because Dog Park has been on there for 20+ years, so we might as well just put it on there and eventually it'll happen. I mean, hopefully it won't take 20 years, but, it could be part of our goal.
Couldn't an Eagle Scout build a bridge for us?
There's also there's another option for sort of a prefabricated material. I forget the name of the company, but it was the representative from Trail Keepers of Oregon that I met with in Beaver Creek told me about a bridge that was installed at not Dabney Park, I believe at MacGyver Park on the Clackamas River that they worked on that was a pretty low cost, like prefabricated material. So I will follow up with her about that and the company name, where that bridge came from. She suggested I go out to Milo MacGyver Park and I will look at it because she said I might be interested in that.
This is Zach. I would say on that note too, and you raised a good point last time where it's coming to kind of the necessary logical steps in order to get towards building a bridge would be to make sure we have adequate trail systems. That was another big one with community feedback, was greater river accessibility and interconnected trails, both from citizens and with the feedback that we got from the polls, as well as our committee discussing. David, is no longer here on there, but I mean, that was one that we had talked extensively about, and I agreed with him on when it came to just making sure that we actually have interconnected trail system that is able to bring folks from all over town to the Sandy River and vice versa, but maybe working on developing more of kind of a layout for that and seeing what goes into starting to implement some of those from one direction or another. But that would be something that I would consider being a higher priority as well, especially in line with community desires in that regard.
Yeah, I think Troutdale, this is Robert speaking, I think Troutdale is a small enough town, we could have in the same, frame of reference as an interconnected trail system, a Troutdale loop, to go all the way around. That would just be 4 or 5 miles, for the community to walk on. And I think we already have the pre-existing structure, framework for that to work out. It just needs that little building block to get there, but that could be a fun goal to have.
All right. I think it's probably silly to think that we're going to set goals today and they're just going to stay the same through the entire next year. I think what we'll see are evolving priorities as we move along. I think we have a good foundation here, things that we'll probably want. Jonah, for those of you who don't know, Jonah's really new too, and so his struggle to find the information is legitimate. I pray you give him a break. But those are probably the things at this time that we'll probably want regular updates on, if that's okay. Specifically, especially the dog park. And then we will, as a group, try to say this is where we want to go next. And maybe Zach, if you have time, identifying an area where we're missing trails that you would like to see things put in. Anything that we can do to contribute to meeting these goals is greatly appreciated, and make no mistake, that is not eliminating the possibility of volunteering to work. So I think we all get out there usually on Earth Day, and some of us have gotten out on just cleanup days. And please, Jonah, remember that if you need extra hands, don't hesitate to ask. We won't all be able to do it, but maybe some of us can pitch in.
Thank you, Shelley. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. And and I will absolutely keep all of you in the loop about any volunteer days or community events that we do have on the agenda. There is one coming up. It's from it's from a church group. So if there are any of you who would like to participate, there will be a volunteer day on August 26th. It's the only one I have on my calendar right now, but I do appreciate that, and I appreciate all of your feedback, and I look forward to working together with you to achieve these goals. I know that sometimes these things can occur at a glacial pace, but I look forward to working with you and advocating for the things that you want to see happen in the Troutdale parks.
Thank you.
Quick question, Michelle speaking. Does the Parks Department do anything with National Night Out that usually takes place the first weekend of August?
We're working on that on the safety committee.
Oh, the safety committee does that? Okay.
We're working on it. So.
Okay, all right.
Any public comment on PAC goals for 23-24? Go ahead.
I was just reiterating and appreciating the maintenance idea. I'll try to.
Oh, yeah.
And, because I know this last year, there was a lot of excellent work that was done in the Helen Altos Park Hill, between Parks and Reynolds. There's a lot of wonderful cleanup that was done, a lot of new plants that went in. It would be a crying shame if people didn't revisit that from a maintenance standpoint for 2 or 3 years, and all of that hard work just got eaten back up by ivy and blackberries. So since that is out my backyard, I greatly appreciate the improved view and the opened up territory. It looks very, very nice, and I certainly hope that it can stay that way.
Wonderful. Thank you. Paul, any contributions?
No, nothing, thank you.
Thank you. I think I heard that TCAB did not meet last month, is that true?
No, they did not.
We haven't met in a couple
No,
months.
it's been April.
Yeah, and I don't know when we're meeting next.
Okay.
Here, I spoke to David Werniger
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said right now it's just a bunch of lawyers going back and forth. He said it could be several months before anything happens.
Okay.
But he says if something develops, they're gonna have a meeting.
Maybe, I'm sorry, this is Zach, just on that note, given that I think all 3 of us are on TCAB, we could see about at least getting like an email update once a month or one, like.
I don't think there's anything, I don't think he has anything to update. That's
Well, I
kind
mean,
of
if
the,
lawyers are talking about it, the city's talking about it, I mean, something's going on.
well, I know, I told him, I said
Yeah.
every month I'm being grilled to what's going on.
Right.
And there's nothing, he says there's absolutely no update right now. It's just,
So interesting.
I can
Okay.
speak to some of that.
okay.
There was a URA meeting last night where we were informed that they're in the process of getting, and I don't remember the acronyms, basically a legal agreement that allows for the developer we chose to negotiate on our behalf with the Troutdale Mall.
Got
And they would have about, I want to say 3 to 4 months, don't quote me on that, to then work with the people in New York that own the mall.
Ooh.
Is that trying to get access through the mall? Is that what we're trying to do?
Yeah, essentially. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yep.
See, that would be information that I would love to get an email saying, hey, we met, this is what we discussed.
Well, it did
Further
happen last
information?
night, so it's, maybe when you get home, it'll be an email.
I know, but still. But thank you, Sandy, for updating us. I appreciate it.
All right. If we are done with TCAB update, committee concerns, initiatives, future agenda items, and closing comments. New members, this is your opportunity to comment on the discussion tonight, bring up any things that you would like to talk about in the future, any concerns that you might have. And we will go around the room and give everybody a chance. And we'll go ahead and start with Michelle.
I've learned a lot. It's just great hearing everybody's feedback. You guys are super passionate. I love that. So I look forward to being engaged more. And I just feel maintenance to me is just something that we need to, particularly like you mentioned that, we went in and did a lot of work on a park, that we keep that up, but just keep all of our parks up. I will bring friends to volunteer, so happy to do that. And I'd just like to get some stuff done before fall hits again and, the winter takes us on a different route.
Thank you. Victoria?
Nothing.
Nothing? Jeff?
No, I'm good.
Oh, thank you.
Nothing? Robbie?
I'll say something. One of the reasons that I wanted to join this committee was, in fact, pretty much solely because of the Beaver Creek Trail Bridge. So walking past it every day, I felt like nothing was getting done. I felt like I was in the dark about that process. Like there was no day-to-day change that I was witnessing. And so I said, does anybody even know that this bridge is down? Am I the only person who walks here? So first of all, it's great to see that there was discussion that I wasn't aware of happening behind the scenes. But second of all, I come from a professional background before that cybersecurity company that I mentioned before. I was actually working with city councils and consultants on parks master plans and collecting community engagement, community feedback. So being somebody who walked past that bridge thinking, is anything happening about that and experiencing that feeling of being in the dark, I approach all the discussion that we have is how do we get that word out to the community to let them know that the discussion is even happening in the first place, to let them know that there are people behind closed doors that are fighting for them, even though the permits may not get approved and the process may not happen at a quicker rate. So as I join the Parks Advisory Committee, one of my main goals is to try and get that word out to the people who have no other way, whether that's the senior population or the ones who aren't on social media or the ones who don't get their bills in the mail. There's ways to connect with all those different people. So that's a perspective that I'm joining this committee trying to accomplish, is how do we get the word out that we're at least having these conversations and that these things are being brought up in a structured manner that has a record that they can go back and read. All these nifty minutes. We want to have eyes on those so that people know what's happening. So that's where I come from, and that's what I'm going to try and accomplish over the next X amount of years that we have in these terms. So I'll leave it there.
All right, Sharon?
Well, I would just follow that. I did know there was some stuff going on, but that's because I would email Tim and say, why is there not a bridge up yet? What is going on with this bridge? And then, oh, the beavers have just chewed down 12 more trees, or snap another picture and send it to him or something like that. So I might be coming from this in a perspective that's even maybe a little bit different, but sometimes I go out to the parks, and this is when I'm just more practical. Sometimes I see stuff, and like I said, mentioned about the bicycle down there, I might see stuff repeatedly, what seems like there's no maintenance going on in these areas. And so I think my concern is more of all of our parks looking a bit more pristine.
Okay, thank you. Carol, I have nothing. All right, a couple of things. Again, welcome new members, Sandy and Paul and Adrian. Thank you all for being here. Closed doors. We don't have those. The doors are always open.
Yeah.
You want to get the word out, tell people to come to these meetings. Yeah. These meetings are public. The minutes are published. They are online. The audio is published if they don't want to read it. These are open meetings. Every meeting that this city has is an open to the public meeting. Please, if you want to get involved, go to the meetings, get your friends to go to the meetings. That's the only way that they can have input into how the city works. I don't go to all the city council meetings, but I will tell you, Sandy, I listen to all the city council meetings at work when I'm supposed to be working. Actually, I work and listen to them at the same time. People walk into my office and just shake their heads. But please remember, all of these meetings are public meetings. We invite everybody to attend. I'm the chair of this meeting now. I do not let a single meeting go by where I don't ask the public, what do you think? What do you have to say and what's your input? And I can't imagine that any chair of any committee would not offer the same opportunity. So please, if you want to get people involved, get them coming to these meetings. Remember, doors are always open, even now.
From a standpoint, I might be interjecting when I shouldn't, but I've been to planning commission meetings and listened and also testified, and the same with council meetings. But I think just unaware of that there was a way to have any input in on anything else. I didn't have that before. So it's only after, being pushed by some people that you have to get involved and you have to. And I think you were testifying at a council meeting or a planning commission meeting.
Probably planning commission.
And I had said how there wasn't enough involvement in some of these things that were coming out. We needed more public input. And again, no disrespect to the committee at all, but more of we still have to figure out another way to get more people involved, to get more input somehow.
Good luck.
Maybe Robbie's the answer.
All right, Zach, your turn.
Yeah, I guess just to, since that's a conversation, a topic, I mean, that's how I got involved, was just by attending online, just kind of staying in the loop. I saw, you hop on the website, it's on there. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but I will say, I guess, just kind of keep thinking that way, realistically. I mean, like, it does get kind of discouraging when we do all these things that we get a very limited response. But it's not for lack of trying, right? So I think we do need continued efforts on our part, and individually and on the committee, when it comes to continuing to explore those options. So I won't say it's a lost cause. I do think there is some merit there. So I mean, I would encourage you to continue thinking that way as we go through our initiatives and our thoughts, because any ideas in that regard could be advantageous to that means to an end. But that said, I don't have a whole lot other than also I just would like to I guess remind everybody too, as we're going through these goals and thinking about these things, to also consider like how we can pepper in other items and other goals as we're going about it. Like, for example, just thinking about like our goal on the Parks Master Plan for increasing tree canopy by 30% over what it is over the course of that time. Whatever we're doing, if it's going to be building out trail systems, if it's going to be, redeveloping like a Frisbee golf course park in certain areas, just consider like, how we can go about planting more trees along that, using the tree guide with the city. And also, I just drew a blank on that one other thing. It's right there. All right, I'm gonna have to let it go. But yeah, just, oh, that's what it was. Initiatives and stuff. So we're talking about maintenance, public comment was there. That is definitely another huge item on the community wish list when it comes to like top priorities for the park system. It's something we might want to consider as far as, I mean, as great as a job as the city does for maintaining our parks, they are woefully understaffed, and we're working on that as well as part of the Parks Master Plan. But until we get to a point where that's kind of an easier point of access to accomplish those goals, maybe we want to consider doing like arranging as a Parks Advisory Committee like a seasonal or like an additional like seasonal cleanup where we can work on community engagement, if anything, just to even practice figuring out how we can outreach a little bit more, but getting more people involved to help clean up and maintain parks, especially when we have people who are passionate about parks in their backyard. You would imagine that some would be willing to come out and help. So it's just something for us to consider as well this year. I think that's all I got.
Great, thank you. Hold or cancel July's meeting. July is when we elect new officers, so I think we probably need to hold a meeting.
I would agree.
Any objection to having a meeting in July? All right. July meeting okay with you, Jonah? You're able to?
Yes, absolutely, yes, I have time, we'll be here. So.
This, Carol, you know what I just thought of is that skate park.
Oh,
That needs to be on our thing. And there's a lot of concern that I've been reading lately of the Gresham Skate Park. A lot of threatening, a lot of people who are parking and then being told they can't park there and being ganged upon in the cars. It's been on next door. So I'm really concerned about it coming to Troutdale, right on Reynolds High School, right across from the school.
Yeah,
So
Gresham's been bad for a while.
it has been bad for a
Yeah.
while, and I had brought up that they were dealing drugs back when my son lived there, so I
And
am
we have
really
people
concerned.
over there. I mean,
Well-
they take him and do this, he gets the cement. One of my daughter's friend's son was beat up really bad.
Yeah. So I just
I believe
remember
there was
that.
actually, there was a murder at the Gresham State Park.
I believe
My
so.
sister lives not like close to the downtown Gresham State Park off of Holy Road there, and yeah, that's right next to Gresham View. Yeah, so, you'll be happy to know that I haven't heard mention in the last month of the skate park since the last PAC meeting, so it is moving just as slow as the Beaver Creek Bridge.
And as long as it took us to get the dog park.
Wonderful. All right, so are we, any objection to holding July meeting? Are we all on board? All right, wonderful. And can we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn. Victoria Rizzo.
Carol will second it.
All in favor? Opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night,
Sandy.
Sandy.
Thank you.
Question, you guys, if anybody,
Yes, you keep
Yes.
the binders.
Yeah, keep the